Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are Nathan Draper, a business owner whose specialist subject is Lyndon B Johnson. Claire Carroll, a teacher who'll be answering questions on A Song of Ice and Fire. Hazel Humphrys, a systems support manager whose subject is seabirds of the British Isles. And Hassan Chowdhury, a primary school teacher whose specialist subject is 1980s children's television. Four contenders, each determined to do the best they can to get through to the semi-finals, and it is not an easy task. This is a competitive sport. The pressure is real. Just 2 minutes to rattle through their specialist subject and then 2.5 minutes on the much feared, because they don't know what's coming, general knowledge. The winner will be one step closer to that Mastermind title. So let's have our first contender, please. And your name is?
Nathan Draper.
Your occupation?
Business owner.
And your chosen subject?
Lyndon B Johnson.
The man who became president after President Kennedy was assassinated. Here we go. Johnson was born in 1908 in Stonewall, Texas, about 60 miles from the city where the Johnson Presidential Library would later be built. Which city?
Austin.
Yep. Johnson's father was a former Texas state legislator and an erratic entrepreneur who went bust several times. What was his first name?
Samuel.
Yep. Johnson escaped death in the South Pacific in 1942 when he left his seat on a B-26 bomber plane just before takeoff to use the toilet. The plane flew without him and was shot down during the mission. What was the name of the plane?
The Heckling Hare.
The Wabash Cannonball. Johnson became Democratic leader in the Senate in 1953 after the shock defeat of the incumbent leader to Johnson's future presidential rival, Barry Goldwater, in the previous year's Senate election. Which senator did Johnson succeed?
Robert Taft.
Ernest McFarland. The night after President Kennedy was killed, Johnson called his senior advisors for a meeting where he outlined a plan, as one advisor put it, to shake America by the throat and revamp social priorities, including passing Medicare, Civil Rights Bill, and waging the war on poverty. The plan became known by what name?
The Great Society?
Yes. Johnson won the 1964 presidential election. The date of the election was cited in Johnson campaign ads, including the controversial Daisy ad. What was the date?
November 3rd?
Yes. As part of his social reform program, Johnson signed the Medicare and Medicaid Act in 1965. He gave one of the pens he used to sign it to one of his predecessors as president, whom he called the real daddy of Medicare. Which president?
Harry Truman.
Yeah. In a groundbreaking move in 1967, President Johnson appointed Thurgood Marshall as the first African-American to sit on the Supreme Court. Marshall replaced a Texan and a longtime Johnson ally on the bench. What was his name?
Tom Clark.
Yep, we are fighting a war with no front line since the enemy hides among the people in the jungles and mountains and use covertly border areas of neutral countries. Those are the words of the general whom President Johnson chose to command troops in Vietnam. What was his name?
William Westmoreland.
Yes, which of Johnson's daughters was a prominent campaigner for her father in 1964 and memorably danced with Steve McQueen at a fundraiser in Beverly Hills? She once said, "My daddy committed political suicide for that war in Vietnam."
Linda.
Lucy. You knew it was one of the two, didn't you? Lucy Baines Johnson. No passes, Nathan. You have 7 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Claire Carroll.
Your occupation?
Inclusion teacher.
Your chosen subject?
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Song of Ice and Fire, that series of 5 fantasy novels by George R.R. Martin. Here we go. The first novel in the series, A Game of Thrones, introduces Ned Stark, Warden of the North, and his wife and children. What's his wife's first name?
Catelyn.
Yeah. Ned and Catelyn's daughter, Sansa, tells her sister, Arya, that she needs to dress smartly because they've been invited to ride with the Queen and Princess Myrcella in the royal wheelhouse. What does Arya claim she's going to search for in the Trident River instead?
Fish.
Rubies. In a ritual overseen by the Red Witch Melisandre, Stannis Baratheon casts 3 blood-filled leeches into the fire to condemn 3 people to death as usurpers. 1 leech represents Joffrey Baratheon and 1 represents Robb Stark. Whom does the 3rd leech represent?
Balon Greyjoy.
Yeah. Tyrion Lannister is almost killed by Sir Mandon, who slashes his face at the Battle of the Blackwater. Whose first words to Tyrion while he's recovering in Maegor's Holdfast are, "Cut yourself shaving, did you?"
Shay.
Bronn. At the Red Wedding, Catelyn Stark tries to bargain with Lord Walder Frey for the life of her son Robb, while she holds a knife to the throat of a member of the Frey family whom she has dragged out from under a table by his long grey hair. Which of the Freys is it?
Ryman.
Aegon. When the lords of the Yunkai came to the court of Hisdar Zolarak in Meereen, they return 3 hostages and bring the head of Admiral Graneo. They say that the remaining hostages will not be handed over until Hisdar has done what?
Pass.
At the beginning of a Game of Thrones, an 18-year-old lord leads his first night's watch ranging beyond the wall and is killed by a group of the pale and ghostly others. What is the young lord's name?
Sir Waymar Royce.
Yes. What's the name of the nomadic warriors, sometimes known as horse lords, who range across the grasslands of the east? In the first book, Daenerys Targaryen marries one of their warlords, Khal Drogo.
Dothraki.
Yes. Daenerys is given 3 dragon eggs as a wedding gift. When they hatch, she names one of the dragons, Rhaegal, after her eldest brother, and another, Drogon, after her husband. What does she name the third after her other brother?
Viserion.
Is correct. You had 1 pass. The lords of the Yunkai said that the remaining hostages would not be handed over until Hisdar had destroyed the dragons. You have scored 5 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Hazel Humphrys,
Your occupation?
Systems Support Manager,
And your chosen subject?
Seabirds of the British Isles.
Seabirds of British Isles in 2 minutes. Starting now. Which species of tern with a distinctive yellow-tipped black bill shares its name with a small town in Kent?
Sandwich.
Yep. The common name of the heavily built, fast-diving seabirds of the genus Morus has passed into the English language as a slang term for a gluttonous or greedy person. What name?
Gannet.
Yep. The roseate tern breeds at various sites in the Irish Sea, such as Rockabill off the coast of County Dublin, but its only regular British breeding colony is on an island off the coast of Northumberland. Which island?
Fawn.
Coquette. What's the common name of the gull Larus argentatus, whose distinctive raucous call has become familiar from the signature tune of the BBC radio programme, Desert Island Discs?
Herring gull.
Yeah. Traditionally, the men of Ness on Scotland's Isle of Lewis have hunted gannet chicks once a year, and the resulting dish is variously said to taste like salty goose or fishy duck. The name of the hunt is a local term for a young gannet. What name?
Pass.
What's the usual name for any sea duck of the genus Melanita? The common species has a British breeding population. The velvet is a winter visitor, and the surf is a North American bird occasionally seen in Scotland.
Scoter.
Yes, fulmars get their name from Norse for foul gull because they can spit out a bad-smelling oil as a defense mechanism. This oil is produced in the glandular part of the stomach between the crop and the gizzard. What's the name for this part of the stomach?
Pass.
Which bird of the genus Hydrobates is traditionally associated with bad weather? Its night call has been described as a purring sound with interposed grunts like stomach rumbling or like a fairy being sick.
Storm petrel.
Yes, the great skua has a common alternative name used in Scotland, especially in the Shetland Islands, which is thought to be of Norse origin. What's the name?
Pass.
Warden of the Marshes is a popular nickname for a noisy, nervous wader that winters around coastal wetlands and has distinctive alarm calls, sometimes said to sound like choo-choo-choo and kip-kip-kip. What bird is that?
Redshank.
Yep. I'm afraid your time is up, and you had 3 passes. The great skua has a common alternative name, and it is bonksy. That glandular part of the stomach is the proventriculus, and the name of that hunt on the Isle of Lewis is the Guga hunt. You have, Hazel, 6 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Hassan Chowdhury.
Your occupation?
Primary school teacher.
And your chosen subject?
1980s children's television.
In 2 minutes, starting now. In a cartoon series first shown in the UK in 1983, Prince Adam of Eternia is transformed into the most powerful man in the universe whenever he raises his sword and calls on the power of Grayskull. Which superhero does Adam become?
He-Man.
Yep. In 1987, a singer who'd previously been a member of the Eurovision-winning group Bucks Fizz joined Roy Castle as the host of Record Breakers. What's her name?
Cheryl Baker.
Yep. A lighthouse keeper known as the Captain, played by Fulton Mackay, was the first human to appear alongside a collection of Muppet-like characters in a British version of a series created by Jim Henson. What's the title of that series?
Fraggle Rock.
Yep. When Multicoloured Swap Shop came to an end in 1982, it was replaced by a similar programme hosted by Mike Reid. What was the title of the new programme?
Saturday Superstore.
Yep. The drama series Seaview focused on the siblings Sandy and George Shelton as they grew up in their parents' guest house in Blackpool. The actress who played Sandy became a regular presenter of Blue Peter later in the 1980s. What's her name?
Yvette Fielding.
Yeah, a spin-off series from Grange Hill starred Todd Carty and was based on the life of his character after he'd left school. What was the title of the new series?
Tucker's Luck.
Yep. In 1983, the BBC introduced a space detective played at different times by Paul Greenwood and Richard Morant, who encouraged a panel of teenagers to solve a galactic mystery. What was the name of the detective?
Captain Zep.
Yep. Station Officer Steele, Trevor Evans and Elvis Cridlington are colleagues of an animated title character whose adventures were initially narrated by John Alderton. Which character?
Pass.
The entertainment show Crackerjack came to the end of its original run in 1984 after 29 years on air. Which comedian was the regular host of the show at the time?
Stu Francis.
Yep. Several of the most popular animated series of the 1980s, including Danger Mouse, Count Duckula and Wind in the Willows, were produced for ITV by a Manchester company founded by two former employees of Granada Television. What was the name of the company?
Cosgrove Hall.
Yep. In Maid Marian and Her Merry Men, the Sheriff of Nottingham was played by an actor well known from another period comedy series. He also wrote most of the scripts. Which actor?
Tony Robinson.
Is correct. Sir Tony Robinson is yours now, indeed. One pass, Hassan. That animated character whose adventures were narrated by John Alderton, Station Officer Steele and all that, he was Fireman Sam, which you knew, of course. You have now, though, 10 points. Pretty close in that specialist subjects round. Let's have a look at all of the scores. In fourth place with 5 points, Claire. Third place, 6 points, Hazel. Second place, 7 points, Nathan. First place with 10 points, Hassan. So now it is the general knowledge round, and if there's a tie at the end of it, then the number of passes is taken into account, and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they are tied on passes as well, then there has to be a tie break. So let's ask Claire to join us again, please. And Claire, you start out with 5 points, but you get 2.5 minutes of general knowledge, so loads of time to catch up. Here we go. The dense visible haze caused by air pollution that often occurs in industrial cities is known by a name that's a blend of the words smoke and fog. What name?
Smog.
Yep. A 2019 television miniseries about one of the biggest nuclear disasters of the 20th century stars Emily Watson, Jared Harris, and won multiple Emmy and Golden Globe Awards. What's the title of it?
Chernobyl.
Yep. What word for a substance injected into the body to stimulate the production of antibodies and provide immunity against a disease is derived from the Latin word for cow?
Vaccination.
Yep. Which 1981 novel by Salman Rushdie has as its narrator a boy born at the exact moment that India gained independence from Britain?
Midnight's Children.
Yes. The rearmost part of a ship's hull is usually known by what 5-letter name?
The aft, that's 3 letters.
Stern. A smooth-skinned variety of peach has a name derived from that of the drink of the gods in classical mythology. What's its name?
Ambrosia.
Nectarine.
Oh.
When Sir Anthony Eden was raised to the peerage in July 1961, he took the title Earl of
Wessex.
Avon. The British composer Rachel Portman won an Oscar for Best Original Score for a musical or comedy for a 1996 film based on a novel by Jane Austen and starring Gwyneth Paltrow as the title character. What film?
Emma.
Yeah. The strait that separates New Zealand's North and South Islands is named after the first European to sail a vessel through it in 1770. What was his name?
Cook.
Yeah. What's the surname of Ted, the trainer of the racehorse Papillon, and his son Ruby, who rode him to victory in the 2000 Grand National?
Murphy.
Walsh. CHCl3 is the chemical formula for a sweet-smelling liquid compound of chlorine, once widely used as a general anaesthetic. What is its common name?
Pass.
Which singer reached #2 in the UK albums chart in 2007 with the greatest hits collection entitled Still on Top? It featured the singles Whenever God Shines His Light, Bright Side of the Road, and A Brown-Eyed Girl.
Van Morrison.
Yeah. Which royal dukedom was created in 1385 for Edmund of Langley, the fourth surviving legitimate son of Edward III?
Norfolk.
York. A very wide-angle lens used in photography to give a distorted hemispherical field of vision is named after the eye of what creature?
A fish.
Yeah. The organization OPEC was founded in 1960 by Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. What does the letter P stand for in the organization's name?
Petroleum.
It is indeed. You had one pass. CHCl3 is chloroform.
Yeah.
You have, however, a total of 14 points.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Hazel. And Hazel, you have 6 points. At the moment, the score to beat is 14. But let's see how you do. Here we go. Which famous fictional British spy has the code number 007?
James Bond.
Yep. In the human body, ossification is the formation of what type of tissue?
Bone.
Yep. A word for the washing and ironing of clothes can also refer to the act of concealing the origin of money obtained from crime by processing it through legitimate businesses or foreign banks. What's the word?
Laundering.
Yeah. Natalie Portman won an Oscar for Best Actress for her performance in a 2010 film about a young dancer in a New York ballet company. What's the title of the film?
Black Swan.
Yep. An international protocol on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions signed by more than 190 countries is named after the Japanese city where it was adopted in 1997. Which city?
Kyoto.
Yep. Which of Shakespeare's comedies tells the story of Helena's unrequited love for Bertram and her attempts to win his affection?
All's Well That Ends Well.
Yes, an American sitcom that ran from 1993 to 2004 is about a psychiatrist played by Kelsey Grammer who returns to his native Seattle to host a radio phone-in show. What's the title of the series?
Frasier.
Yep. What name's given to the circular prison design created by Jeremy Bentham in the late 18th century? The layout allowed a guard to observe all the prisoners at once from the centre of the jail.
Panopticon.
Yeah. Which of the storytellers in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales was called Alison and claimed to have had 5 husbands, 3 of whom were good, 2 of whom were bad?
The Wife of Bath.
Yeah. A painting entitled Devolved Parliament, which depicts dozens of chimpanzees on the benches in the House of Commons, was sold for almost £10 million in 2019. Who painted it?
Banksy.
Yeah. The Vasco da Gama Bridge opened in 1998, is more than 10 miles long and spans an estuary to the east of a European capital city. Which one?
Lisbon.
Yeah. Which American hard rock band with Steven Tyler as lead vocalist had hit singles in the 1990s, including Dude Looks Like a Lady and I Don't Want to Miss a Thing?
Aerosmith.
Yep. What term is used in physics for the tendency of a mass to remain still or to move with constant momentum in a straight line unless a force is applied to it?
Inertia.
Yeah. A type of cake made of flaky pastry filled with currants is named after the town, now in Greater Manchester, where it was first sold commercially. What town?
Eccles.
Yes. A squid has how many limbs or tentacles?
10.
Yes, the emergency nurse practitioner, Charlie Fairhead, played by Derek Thompson, was introduced as a character in a television medical drama series when it was first broadcast in 1986. What series?
Casualty.
Yeah. What greasy substance widely used in cosmetics as a moisturizer is obtained from the wool of animals such as sheep? It's sometimes known as wool fat and has a name derived from the Latin for wool oil.
Glycerin.
Oh, what a shame. It's lanolin. And I say what a shame because you were just going pop, 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 getting them all right. However, in spite of that, you have 22 points. And now, Nathan, please. And, Nathan, you start out with 7 points. The score to beat has now rocketed up to 22. Here we go. You've got 2.5 minutes, of course. Strips of toast cut thinly to dip into a soft-boiled egg are popularly known by what military-sounding name?
Eggy soldiers?
Yep. The name of the writer of an article or column in a newspaper is typically credited immediately below the title of the article. This credit is usually known by what name?
Byline?
Yep. What name of South American origin is given to a woolen cloak with a hole in the middle for the head? Clint Eastwood famously wore one in a series of spaghetti westerns of the 1960s.
Poncho?
Yep. Which major city in North Africa was almost completely destroyed by a Roman army in 146 BC?
Luxor?
Carthage. Which football coach earned the nickname El Tel after he became the manager of Barcelona? In 1984, he went on to lead the England team to the semi-finals of the 1996 European Championships.
Terry Venables?
Yep. The northernmost lighthouse in the British Isles is on a small island known until 1964 as North Unst. Which island?
Lewis?
Muckleflugger. You probably think this song is about you. That's a line from the chorus of a 1972 UK hit single by Carly Simon. Which song?
You're So Vain.
Yeah. Which Flemish physician wrote the 1543 work on the structure of the human body? Its publication marked the beginning of the study of anatomy as a scientific discipline.
Kepler?
Vesalius. What animated film franchise based on a 1990 children's book by William Steig features a donkey voiced by Eddie Murphy?
Shrek?
Yep. Which American city and state capital is known as the Mile High City because it stands at 5,280 feet above sea level?
Denver?
Yeah. Adela Quested and Dr. Aziz are characters in a 1924 novel by E.M. Forster set mainly in the fictional city of Chandrapur on the river Ganges and the nearby Marabar Caves. Which novel?
Passage to India?
Yep. In 2012, Facebook paid a reported $1 billion for a free-to-use photo-sharing app launched in 2010, which allows users to apply filters to pictures before they're uploaded. What's the name of the app?
Instagram?
Yes, in the television series The Trip, Steve Coogan travels around a number of European countries and visits various restaurants with a Welsh comedy actor as his companion. Which actor?
Rob Brydon?
Yep. The theory that everything tends towards chaos or increased entropy is known as the second law of which branch of physics?
Pass.
Which Irish golfer won his first major with a decisive 6-shot victory at the 2019 Open Championship?
Pass.
What decimal number is written in binary notation as 11?
0.8.
It's not, I'm afraid. It's 3. You had 2 passes. Shane Lowry was the golfer who won with a 6-shot victory. And the theory that everything tends towards chaos or increased entropy, etc., it's thermodynamics. You have now, Nathan, a total of 17 points. And finally, Hassan again. Right, you start with 10 points, Hassan. You have to beat, if you want to get through to the semi-finals, 22. So, here we go. What's the name of the international organization founded in 1935 in Akron, Ohio, to help people become and remain sober? It's often abbreviated to the letters AA.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yep. Which town on the east coast of Scotland is home to the British Golf Museum and a complex of 7 golf courses?
St Andrews.
Yep. What name, derived ultimately from the Greek for snail, is given to the spiral-shaped cavity in the inner ear which contains structures central to the hearing process?
Cochlea.
Yep. Which American singer had UK hit singles with For Once in My Life, Superstition and You Are the Sunshine of My Life?
Stevie Wonder.
Yep. In 1769, Josiah Wedgwood founded a pottery works in Staffordshire and named it after a region of ancient Italy. What was its name?
Wedgwood.
Etruria. Kathy Bates won a Best Actress Oscar for a performance in a 1990 film as an obsessive fan of an author whom she holds captive in her house. What film?
Misery.
Yep. The channel which links the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans between the tip of mainland South America and the islands of Tierra del Fuego is named after the Portuguese explorer who first navigated it in 1520. Which explorer?
Pass.
The carved stone memorial on the tomb of Oscar Wilde in the Père Lachaise cemetery in Paris was designed by which sculptor?
Gauguin.
Epstein. In June 2020, Michal Martin became Prime Minister of a European country after he secured support for a 3-party coalition government. Which country?
Republic of Ireland.
Yes. An English town to the northeast of London was one of 3 in the UK to be granted city status in 2012 to mark the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Which town?
Luton.
Chelmsford. The novels known collectively as Tales of My Landlord, which include The Bride of Lammermoor and The Heart of Midlothian, were written in the early 19th century by which Scottish author?
Robert Burns.
Scott. A small room or box with an angled mirror that projects an image of an external scene onto a viewing surface inside is known by a Latin name that means dark chamber. What name?
Periscope.
Camera Obscura, a musical adaptation of the film Mean Girls, opened on Broadway in 2018 with music composed by Jeff Richmond. The script was written by his wife, who also wrote the screenplay for the film and starred in it as Ms. Norbury. What's her name?
Rose Grosvenor.
Tina Fey. Which ancient Chinese system of rules said to govern the flow of the Earth's vital energy has a name that translates as wind water? It's still widely applied today in the design and siting of buildings.
Feng Shui.
Is correct. You had one pass. The Portuguese explorer who first navigated the channel linking the Atlantic and Pacific was, you've got it now, haven't you?
Magellan.
Yeah. Yes, it's hard to explain how that works, isn't it? But there you are. You have now a total, Hassan, of 17 points. Well, what an interesting round that was. Let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 14 points, Claire. Joint second place, 17 points apiece, Nathan and Hassan. In first place, 22 points, Hazel, which means, of course, that she goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to her. And if you would like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds. And thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Before I even got to sit in the big black chair, I was terrified. I was really petrified. I'd forget how to walk. It felt like my legs were made of lead completely. So when I sat down, I was actually quite relieved to have made it. Going into the general knowledge round, I thought I've got no chance whatsoever, so I may as well just sit back and enjoy myself.
Let's see how you do. Here we go.
When you're sitting in the chair, you're sort of like transfixed by John's face asking you these questions. You don't even think about the fact that you're answering one right after another.
Panopticon.
Yep.
Kyoto.
Yep.
All's well that ends well.
Yes.
And it's only when it gets to the last bit that my mind went blank.
What greasy substance is obtained from the wool of animals such as sheep?
Glycerin.
Oh, what a shame. It's lanolin. And I say what a shame because you were just going pop, 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 getting them all right.
It's my fourth time on Mastermind, and the last time I actually made it through to the semi-finals, although it's gotten a lot tougher now and more intense. So I'm hoping to go possibly one better. We'll see how things go.